I gotta say, despite an entire slate of recent movie marketing to get to, the Beetlejuice 2 trailer released 2 weeks ago, the full Alien Romulus preview just dropped 9 days back, and that Longlegs movie could use some mind's eye coverage. I'm pumping the brakes on these horror flicks. All other gut reactions have to take a backseat when Silent Hill comes to town. To each of these film releases, I say, hold your horses, nah. You weren't gonna catch me waiting to strike when the iron was cold, or when the story grew old. I mean, who do I look like, Vivica Fox? I've been anticipating this teaser for far too long. We have been waiting almost 2 decades for a revisit to that foggy town. It's a return to form, to that haven that horror calls home. Now then, for this special breakdown, I'm going to use stills from the teaser as opposed to video footage. After all, clocking in at just 49 seconds, this trailer is James Wan levels of short. Enjoy the slideshow. Familiar fog. Familiar document. Familiar faces. Familiar desolation. Ah, home sweet hills. For those not in the know, the reason that our leading man James Sunderland travels to our tourist trap Silent Hill is because his main squeeze, Mary Shepard, wrote him a letter mentioning that town. But how can this be if his wife died of illness 3 years ago? As if the eeriness of the mist and the barrenness of the town weren't unsettling enough, imagine the startling development that the only other soul you encounter in a city fallen silent strikes an uncanny resemblance to your deceased wife. More's the pity, then, that your dearly departed spouse has seemingly communed from beyond the grave, and this similar-looking stranger even has a similar name to hers, Maria. And then the siren sounds. I'm afraid our couple's retreat is going to have to take a rain check. Our weekend getaway just turned into a bad head trip. This scene, to me, I found the most disquieting of the teaser. The sight of a body sliding down a manhole is spine-chilling stuff. It's imagery like this that gets the mind racing, the heart pumping, and you asking questions. The easy answer is that this is a monster dragging in a poor soul to their murky demise. However, perhaps not. Silent Hill isn't Raccoon City, and whereas creatures abound in both, the nightmare denizens of the former aren't your standard brain-dead cannibals on the hunt for a quick bite. Rather, the monsters of the mist hack and slash instead of outright feast. This scene makes me wonder if this body sliding into the sewers isn't a victim, but one of the villains. What if it isn't someone being taken hostage, but something seeking refuge? The next scene I had not noticed upon first viewing the teaser. I absolutely savor this depiction. In what looks like a landscape portrayed on a theater stage, the backdrop of a city street, matched with the foreground of steel grating, appears like a midway transition between the fog world and the Otherworld. The hellish reddish aesthetic so perfectly parallels with the franchise theme of blood and rust. I have to believe this rendering was done on purpose. This dismal picture makes for an illustration of the type of mood this film should strive for and the level of dread that audiences are in for. As James struggles between steel bars to pull a young girl to safety, the look on her face fittingly translates the trouble that she's in and the danger inbound. And speaking of peril, it wouldn't be a reunion without the welcoming party. We get scenes of the top 2 most iconic monsters in this franchise. Firstly, if the horror genre had its own on-call receptionists, it would be Silent Hill nurses. Even in the split-second screen time that this teaser affords them, you can tell their twitchy and janky movements have been retained from the first film. If director Christophe Gans ever needed confirmation that his decision for the monsters to be played by ballet dancers and acrobats was an inspired choice, the otherworldly motions of the nurses raised the stock through their live-action performance. I can't wait to see what he has in store for their encore performance in the sequel. Then, of course, there is the tormentor himself, the Red Pyramid thing. He is seen here rushing the door in pursuit of James Sunderland, and I don't believe for a second that these steel bars are holding back this Goliath. As I mentioned, with the town's nightmare caregivers, I can only imagine what horrors the director has in store for this executioner. With his great knife in tow, keep something in mind. For his inaugural appearance on film, the Red Pyramid thing tore a woman's skin off her bones like it was tattered clothes. So, not only would he have to top that haunting piece of terror, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the filmmakers are game to do just that with this go-around. From here, we're treated to an express elevator to hell. Maria appears to lash out before her glassy eyes glaze over to harrowing effect. Cut, print, that's a wrap. How crazy that not only are we getting another Silent Hill movie as part of the franchise renaissance, and it's a continuation of the first film, but after all these years, as a third movie in the series, we're getting a proper film adaptation of Silent Hill 2. While the first film took cues from the first game sequel, it was largely inspired by OG Silent Hill. And that movie that shall not be named took cues from Silent Hill 3. With a tentative 2024 release date, I am thrilled that we get a reunion with this franchise on film once more of this world that director Christophe Gans opened up to the mainstream moviegoers. That the greatest, that's right, yes sir, you heard me right, the greatest video game adaptation gets its much-deserved and much-welcomed homecoming. Our favorite dream destination has gone full nightmare. I hope you've packed your luggage light because you're returning home in a body bag. I've been incarnate reminding you, I ain't just a big deal, I'm the real deal. If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.